Few days back, I posted a question on the community tab asking why do we need a location while we create Azure Resource Group. And until now, I have got 96 votes, and out of that, 42% of you have selected the correct answer. The correct answer was to store metadata information about resource group. So all of you, those who have selected this answer, can give a pat on your back. So kudos to you. However, a large percentage of viewers have selected wrong answers. For example, 24% have selected to restrict all resources under one location, 16% have selected to control the billing of resources, and then again 19% of you have selected there is no need of location for resource group. And this means that a total of 59% have chosen wrong answer. And that is why I bring today's video where I will quickly decode the reason for why we need location while we create Azure Resource Group. And there is a fun observation from my side. Adding all these percentages gives me 101% instead of 100%. But that's how YouTube Stats shows this data to me, and I present this to you. So the learning is that there is a scope for improvement for every one of us. Hello and welcome back to the Tech Blackboard. In this video, we are going to talk about Azure Resources and Azure Resource Groups. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand what are Azure Resources, what are Azure Resource Group, and then we will also understand why resource groups are needed, the importance of the location in Azure Resource Group. We will also understand can we have multiple resource group, and towards the end of the video we will understand can you nest different resource groups. Throughout this video there will be many quick tips around which you will get many questions in AZ900 certification exam. So do not skip any part of this video. In case you want the entire video with 191 questions on AZ900, then do check out this video. The link for the same is now appearing in the I button on the top right corner and also available in the description box below. In order to better understand what is Azure Resource Group, let's first understand what are Azure Resources. As a user, once you start working with Azure, you use different type of components such as Azure Virtual Machine, Azure SQL Database or Azure Storage Account and many more. All these are categorized as Azure Resources. There can be no better place to find all Azure resources than Azure portal itself. So let's head on to the Azure portal and find out all Azure resources. So here I am on the Microsoft Azure portal. You can see I'm already logged in, and then towards the left of the screen you can find this blade where you have an option called All Services. When you click on All Services, you will find all the Azure resources available in Microsoft Azure. The best part is that all the services and resources are very neatly categorized under different categories. So for example, we have general category, we have compute, networking, storage, web, mobile. Categories in itself are very intuitive, and just the name of the category will give you a good idea of what kind of resources should you expect under this category. For example, if you click on the compute services, you have virtual machine, you have function app, Kubernetes, and many more. Now let's say you want to create a virtual machine. You can click on virtual machine, click on create, and then it gives you different options. Let's select the first, the basic one, and then it gives you a wizard style of interface where you input your values, give your virtual machine name, and then go to the other sections like disk, networking, management, advanced. You can also assign tags to your virtual machine. In fact, you can assign tags to almost all Azure resources. Tags are very important concept in Azure in efficiently managing your resources. And if you want a detailed video on tags, tell me in the comment section below and I will create a very thorough detailed video on tags. Similarly, I'm planning to bring a detailed video on virtual machines as well, how you can create virtual machines based on Linux and Windows. So do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you get all the notification of all the super interesting videos that are coming up on Azure. As a quick side note, do not get confused between the options which says all services and all resources. All services is the option where you want to go whenever you are looking for any Microsoft Azure service. However, the all resources option will give you the list of resources that are created by you in your subscription. Now that you understand what are Azure resources, let's understand what is Azure Resource Group. Simply putting it, you can say that Azure Resource Group is a group of Azure resources. You can also say that Azure Resource Group is a logical container in which multiple Azure services or resources can reside. It's important that you understand that in a single resource group, you can have many resources or services like Azure Virtual Machine, SQL databases, Azure Functions, or app services. Now let's take a quick example. Suppose that you want to make a website called thetechblackboard.com. Now to host a website, you would need Azure App Service. You will need Azure SQL Database. For example, if you want to store information of your clients, you may also need Azure Storage. For example, if you want to store your PDF file of your tutorials or images or pictures, then you would need Azure Storage to store all these files. Now you can see that all these services, be it app service or SQL database, Azure storage, are all related to the website called thetechblackboard.com. It's very logical and sensible that you manage all these resources under one resource group. And that's the benefit of having resource group, that it allows you to manage all the related resources under one head. You can do the grouping based on departments of your company. For example, you have HR department, you have finance department, or you can also create Azure Resource Group based on your different environments. For example, if you have a dev environment, you have a production environment. So all these different kind of environments can also act as a different resource group. Now a quick tip for AZ900 certification exam. Always remember that each resource in Azure must belong to a single resource group. There are some questions in AZ900 certification exam which ask you whether a resource can reside in multiple Azure resource group. And now you know that each resource in Azure always belong to a single resource group at any particular time. I will show you how to create Azure resources in upcoming slides. But before that, let's understand in detail why Azure Resource Groups are needed and what are their benefits. The first benefit of Azure Resource Group is lifecycle and security. Let's understand this in detail. So Azure Resource Groups facilitates you to manage resources as a single entity based on lifecycle and security. The next benefit of Azure Resource Group is flexibility. So the resource groups gives you better flexibility to manage lifecycle of all the services and resources at one place which are located under one resource group. The third benefit is delete all. When the life cycle of all the resources end and you want to delete all the resources, then you can use Azure Resource Group. In our last example, when we created the techblackboard.com website, let's say that you want to delete all the resources you created for the techblackboard.com website. Now, instead of deleting all the resources one by one, you can just delete the resource group, and this will ensure the deletion of all related resources in one clean shot. Moving on, the fourth benefit of Azure Resource Group is access and permission. The resource group provides you better control to manage security of a group of resources and services such as user access and resource permission. So rather than managing access and permission at individual resource level, you can manage it on the resource group level. And then we have connect other resource group. So every resource in resource group can connect to the other resources in other resource group. Last but not the least, we have move resources. You can move resources from one Azure resource group to another Azure resource groups. These benefits are very important to keep in mind because you will get many questions around these benefits in AZ900 certification exam. Now let's understand what is the importance of location when you create a resource group. See, every resource group has its own deployment location to store the metadata of the services which are contained in the resource group, no matter in which location your services are deployed. What it means is that the location in Azure Resource Group is just there to store the metadata of the services or the resources that are contained in the resource group. Now, one more cool tip for AZ900 certification exam. It's important to understand that the resource group and the resources in that resource group can have different Azure location. For example, let's say your resource group's location is US. Now your resources and services inside that resource group can have different location other than the US region. For example, they can have West Europe, Asia, or any other Azure location. Now let's do some practical stuff and understand how to create Azure Resource Group. You have many options to create Azure Resource Group. You can come onto this left hand side blade and here you find an option called resource group. You can also find it from the search bar. If you search resource group, you will find it here. If you will click on this option, you will land to this page. And on this page, you get an option which says create. And now another window opens that says create resource group. You can see that your subscription is already selected. If you have multiple subscription, they will be all listed here. You can select any subscription that you want the resource group to be created inside. Then you have resource group name. You have to give a resource group name. Let's give it a name. Let's say we have a resource group that is called Tech RG. Further, you can see that the region which we have selected for the resource group is East US. Keep this in mind because when we will create the resources inside this resource group, we will try to create resources in multiple Azure region so that you can understand the fact that the resources inside the resource group can be of multiple Azure locations. So once you have selected the Azure region of your choice, then you can move ahead and say next. Then on this page, you can assign the tags if you want to assign with the resource group. I don't want to do it now. I will say just review and create and then press create. And you can see it's already created. It was very quick. You can go to the resource group and here now you can see we have a resource group which is called Tech RG. We do not have any resource inside this resource group. Now let's create some resource inside this resource group. So I can create, let's say create a storage account. So let's create a storage account. So I will again press create and this will take me to the page which will help me in creation of storage account. And here you can see the subscription is already loaded. So you can see that we have our resource group named Tech RG that we just created. In case you have multiple resource group, you can click this drop down arrow here and all the resource group that you have will be listed here. So at this point, if you want to create a new resource group, then you can give a new name here and create a new resource group. For now, I will move ahead with our Tech RG resource group. And now you can see that we have a storage account name. Let's give it a name like Tech storage. I will maybe add my name so that we have a unique storage account name. Then you can see we have East US. Now let's select some other region. So let's select some region from Asia. Let's say we have East Asia. Now pay attention that while creating the resource group, we chose the region or location as East US. However, now that we are creating a storage account, we are choosing a region as East Asia. So both are different Azure regions or Azure locations. Let's move ahead. The focus of this video revolves around the resource group. So I will not change any of the default values that are coming. So just to speed up, I will keep doing next. And this will create a storage account for us. I will say review and create. And it will show me the basic information that I have selected for my storage account. Let me click create. Have to wait for a moment. Let me just fast forward the video and I will come back once the storage account is created. Now our storage account is created. Let's go to the resource and we can see this is our storage account. We can see the resource group of the storage account is given as Tech RG and we also have our subscription name which is which pay as you go. You can also see what kind of storage account that you have created. The storage account is storage version V2. As I was just telling you a little while back, the location of our storage account is East Asia. However, the location of our resource group is not East Asia, but it is East US. Hopefully now you understand that the location of resource group can be different and the location or the region of the resources can be same as resource group or it can also be different. And now if you come down to the all resources, then here you can see a summarized view of all the resources that you have. You can see that you have one storage account and that storage account resides inside the resource group called Tech RG. And the location of the resource is East Asia and this is your subscription. So I hope the concept of resources and resource group is now clear to you. And before we move ahead, please do not forget to like the video. And if you are new here, please subscribe to the channel so that you get all notification for our upcoming videos. Now let's understand, can we have multiple resource groups? Do you know the answer? If yes, then pause the video and give the answer in the comment section below. But for now, the quick answer for this question is yes. Yes, you can have multiple resource group. Let me show you in the Azure portal. So now I am back in my Azure portal and if I go to the resource group section, then I can see that I have 3 resource group. we have Learn Azure, then we have Tech Blackboard, we also have Tech RG. That's the same resource group that we just created in this video. Besides this, you can also observe that the location of all three resource group are different. So we have Central India, we have Canada Central, and then we also have East US. So this justifies that yes, we can surely have multiple resource group. Now coming to one more AZ900 quick tip. Some of you might be thinking that I created 3 resource group. What is the cost associated with each resource group? And to clarify your doubt, there is no cost of the resource group itself. You can create many resource group. There is no cost. However, the cost is only attracted by the resources that are created inside the resource group. So keep that tip in mind. Now let's understand, can resource group be nested? What I mean is, let's suppose you have a resource group called department. And inside that department resource group, can you create other nested resource group? For example, finance resource group or HR resource group. Is that possible? The quick answer for this question is no. Resource groups cannot be nested inside other resource groups. I hope this video has helped you understand the concept of Azure Resource Group. In case you still have some questions, doubts, then do share in the comment section. You can also share what are the other Azure concepts that you want me to make videos on, and I will be happy to make them. Till we meet again, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.